This is wild. This is wild. It's been a minute. Hey, hi guys. It's Tyler. For those of you who don't know, I used to make content here on YouTube many years ago. I think it's been 6 years since I've uploaded a video, which is wild. But there's something natural about this. There's something that feels right about coming back. But quick introduction. Hello, my name is Tyler. My pronouns are they, them. I'm 30 years old. I live in Southern California. And I have recently got back into reading. Got back into reading during like 2020, like during the first wave of lockdown. And I just keep reading more. My air just kicked off. So if you heard that before, I'm now self-conscious of how loud I'm talking because I don't know if people can hear me. But I've been reading a lot more than I've ever read in my life, and I wanted a space to talk to people about it, to get recommendations, to be a part of the community, because I've been a lurker on Booktube for quite some time. And you know, now's some cliche about like the best day to start is today. Is that a cliche? I don't know. So I found, I did 1 second of Google searching. 1 second. Also, I got my nails done for the first time in like forever today, and I got gel for the first time ever. I'm neutral towards it. Anyways, so I Googled like new Booktuber tag, and I found first one I clicked on. And I guess it was created by somebody named Brenda C, but the channel no longer exists. So I can't give her credit. I can give her credit, but I can't credit. Anyways, so I'm going to answer these questions and we'll go from there. Can you see that I got to get my bearings back a little bit, you know? So question number 1, why did you start this channel? Well, I started this channel forever ago. I started this channel back in like 2009, 2008, something like that. No. Yeah, whoa. Yeah, I started it back when I was a freshman in high school. But I know that's not the question. The question is pertaining to Booktube. And I kind of answered it in the beginning that I just want, I'm missing a sense of community online. I feel like I got stuck in the like TikTok and like the new Instagram kind of like algorithm based social medias where you don't get to pick things that you want to be seeing. You're given things that the internet thinks you want to see. And so it kind of feels a little community-less. It feels a little not as... Oh, I found the painter's tape my sister was looking for earlier. But it doesn't... I'm lacking a sense of community online. And so I just want to be a part of a community again. I think that would be very fun. So the next question is, what are some fun and unique things you bring to Booktube? I don't know if I bring anything I don't know if I bring anything particularly unique. Fun, maybe. I read a lot of horror. I read, like a wide range of age. Like I read some middle grade, I read some YA, I read some new adult, I read some adult, but I do read a lot of horror. I read a lot of dystopian. No, I think just my favorite book series is dystopian. I don't think I read a lot of dystopian. I read widely is what I'm trying to get at. Like I don't think I have a super big niche minus horror. Like I have like horror and then a lot of other. So I think that I just read a lot of books as well that I don't see talked about a lot. Hello? I thought someone knocked on my door. What was I saying? Oh, right. So I read a lot of books that I don't see super talked about, and not in like a... I'm not like the other girls. I read such unpopular books. But I find a lot of my books secondhand. I find a lot of my books from free little libraries and like whatever is available at my library. So a lot of times those things aren't the popular ones because the popular ones are getting taken. So it's kind of, I just, you know, I feel like I will bring a little bit of different kinds of, oh, there's wasabi. Like a different kind of vibe to reading. I'm gonna skip, I've taken too long to answer this question. What are you most excited about for this channel? Give you one guess. Say it with me. Community. Why do you love reading? I like, stop it. Do you see him? What are you doing? Hey, stop. I like reading because of the escapism, obviously, but also I saw a post somewhere and it really changed my perspective. It said, like, reading books is the last form of storytelling that we have left that doesn't have ads. Crazy. I also love telling stories. I love hearing stories. I think that the reason that stories, like the art of storytelling, has passed on for so many, forever, like as long as humans have been a thing, is because our body, or because of our brains need it. Our brains need that. And so I love a little story. I love a little hee hee ha ha with my brain. Like, it's, you know, you get to read it by yourself. I don't know. I think it's fun. I just like the escapism, and I love telling and hearing stories. So the next question is what book or series got you into reading? Okay, so I have two answers for that. I came prepared. When I was a kid, I read a lot when I was a kid, but when I was in middle school, I found this book, Gregor the Overlander by Suzanne Collins, which took me far too long to realize was the same person that read The Hunger Games, but this predated The Hunger Games when I read this. And I devoured it. And you know what? The whole series is phenomenal. Is it middle grade? Yeah, you can also see how well loved these copies are. Is it middle grade? Yeah. Do I think that people of all ages would have fun with this? Probably, if you like whimsy. It's about this young boy, his name is Gregor, and his family. His dad is missing. His mom is struggling to keep him and his two sisters fed and, you know, taken care of in New York City. They don't have a lot of money, and Gregor is kind of taken on this like parenting role, even though he himself is really young, and he takes his youngest sister Boots down to the laundry room to do laundry, and she has like a toy that then falls behind the laundry, or behind the dryer, and she falls behind the dryer with the toy, and Gregor's freaking out, and he goes down and he tries to save his sister, and then they fall into this magical world that looks like this, just under the surface of the earth, and it has rats and mice and bats and cockroaches and spiders that are like giant, like bigger than humans, like humans can ride the bats. And their world down there is at war. Oh no! One of my pages got ruined. That's really sad. But so the world's at war, and there is a prophecy saying that Gregor it was prophesied that he was going to come down and help save the Underland. And it obviously, there's 5 books in the series, and I do think that it is so good, and it wraps up nicely. I'm kind of happy that it didn't get the same kind of hype that The Hunger Games did, solely for the fact that it feels kind of like a little secret, you know? But I think my favorite in the series is either, I reread these fairly recently, and I think it's The Prophecy of Bane, which is the second one, or The Curse of the Warm Bloods, which is the third one. I think those are my favorite. There's no bad ones, but I do think that those. This was the series that originally, like, super got me hyped into reading. Obviously, like, also the Twilight books and Interview with the Vampire series. I'll talk about those later because I'll talk about those later, but those got me into the reading when I was younger. But during COVID, we're still in COVID, we are still actively in a pandemic. I'm not putting that down. But in 2020, with the start of COVID, was when I started getting back into reading. And the book that did it, because I read a couple of the Kindle books. I read, I had like books on my bookshelf that I had tried reading, and I was like, oh, whatever. And then I saw somebody talk about this on a YouTube video, and I bought it because, I had a list on my phone of books that I wanted to read, and this was the only one that they had at that Barnes & Noble when I went. And I'm so happy that it was the one that I picked up, and it is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. When I cannot explain to you the love and like the appreciation that I have for this story and for this book. If it wasn't for this book, I don't think that I would be as hyped to read as I am now. There was a part of my brain that was locked away because reading wasn't for fun anymore. Like I read in school a lot, and then I just reading wasn't a thing. I don't know. I can't explain it, but it had a perfect little key that came in and unlocked it in my brain. And I now have also this series, some of the prettiest books, some of the prettiest full series. Ooh. So I have the whole Scythe series. The first and the third, I think the third is my absolute favorite. Again, no bad books. Something that's really funny, I can't show you. I can go like this, but this is how much this book means to me. First of all, it's signed. All of my Scythe books are signed, which just makes me want to cry. I don't know. I can't talk about this book without getting a little emotional. But so I went into a grippy sock vacation. 2 years ago? 3 years ago? 3 years ago. Wow. And I wanted to bring this in with me. I had read it a bunch of times by that point, but I just knew that I would feel safe in this world. And I didn't think about it until I was in the emergency room. And I was like, I don't have anybody's phone numbers memorized. I don't know any of my friends' phone numbers. So I wrote them in the front of my book. This is just their names. You can't see the phone numbers. But I wrote all of my friends that I thought I was going to call. I wrote their names in the front of the book. And that is just forever in the history of this book for me. And I just think that that's so fun. If you haven't heard of this book series, it's about a world in the future, our world in the future, where we have beaten death. We can't die of natural causes. We can't die of old age. You can't die of suicide. The only way that you can die is if you are gleaned by a scythe. And scythe is its own kind of branch, organization. It's I don't know. They're killers that are trained, and they are there to help curb overpopulation. Since there's no way for us to die naturally, we would just keep populating. So there are people who are trained to kill, or to glean is what they call it. And it gets, at first you're following through the eyes of two scythe apprentices. They're two late teens that have been chosen by a scythe to apprentice under him to potentially become a scythe. And you start to realize that this world is a little bit more corrupt than you would think, because it's supposed to be perfect. We've figured everything out. And so it gets a little political, in the sense of who has the control? Is it the scythes? Is it the people? Is it this Thunderhead, which is an AI that kind of oversees everything? And it's I can't talking about it. There's also this whole story of like what makes life worth what makes life worth living. There we go. Like, what makes life worth living if like if you can just do whatever you want. Like, you don't need money, you don't need to think about eating, you can't like do, what is the point of living forever if there is nothing beautiful about it? Like, you know, they talk about how like art isn't as impactful, and how like they go to operas and like musicals, and like how they can't even relate to it because they don't know what suffering is, they don't know what tragedy is. Like, war is a foreign concept to them. And it's like this whole thing of like, who's in charge, what makes life worth living, like, is immortality worth it if you don't have the joys that come along with it? I just love it. I love it. Okay, I love it. I could talk about this book for literal ever. I've convinced so many people in my life to read this book, and I understand that it's not for everybody. Like, not every book is going to be for everybody, but I think that this is for a lot more people than people know. And I understand that the whole series is super hit or miss. Like, some people hate the second book, and some people, like, you know, some people don't really like. I get it. At least give the first book a try, because it does end in a way that, like, if you're not super invested in it, it's like, oh, okay, that the story of this one wraps up pretty nicely in the first book. So you don't have to commit to a 3-parter, because this is technically the 4th book, but it's like an anthology of like short stories that exist in the Scythe universe. So don't let it be intimidating that there's 4 books, because it's a collection of short stories. So it's not like an entirely 4th book. But yeah, I love Scythe. I could talk, as you can tell, I keep rambling about it. But I love it. I love it. And also, if you do end up making it to the 3rd book, this book has one of my favorite queer, not like gender non-conforming, like, just one of my favorite characters that I've ever read, that was written by a cis person, but feels so genuinely and like respectfully done. I don't know. There's a character in here, and their name's Jerry. And did I also take this to the mental hospital with me? Oh, you know what it is? I went twice. I took this the second time. Yeah. Because my roommate gave me a cute little note. Forgot about that. So you can tell I love the series. I bring it to me when I need comfort in places. All I know is I love Jerry. And Jerry feels very respectfully and beautifully no gender. And I love Jerry! This next question is, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? My question would have been, have you read Scythe? However, I do all of the booktubers that I follow. Most of them have it on their shelf behind them. So it's either on their TBR or they've already read it. And they liked it enough to keep it on their bookshelf. So, what challenges do you think starting a YouTube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Oh, for me, I know what the hardest challenge is. The hardest challenge is actually filming. I like editing. I like having a schedule. It's the remembering to film. I gotta do that. When did you start reading? When I was younger, I loved reading. I loved like the Goosebump books. I loved Magic Treehouse books. Whenever the Scholastic Book Fair would come into town, I'd make my parents get stuff for me. I loved it. I loved reading as a kid. Where do you read? You see that bed behind me? There's so many books on it right now too. The queen size bed. It looked like comfy, like cozy, when I looked at it, I was like, that can be in the background. That looks pretty cozy. It does not translate cozy on the camera. So I'm gonna go right back over here. The last question is, what kind of books do you like to read? Now, I do a lot of audiobooks. I do a lot of Kindle books. I am also notorious for once I like a book, the second I have finished it, I gift it to people that I think are going to like it. So a lot of my books are out in the hands of my very well-deserving friends who I love very deeply and who I'm not mad have my books. I'm just mad that I can't hold them. So I'm going to talk about a couple books that I have on my shelf that I've either given a 4, a 4.5, or a 5 to. And then when I'm done, all of the books that I don't own, I'll put up on the screen. Let me know if any of these authors are not pro-Palestine, because I am pro-Palestine. And let me know if any of these break the strike. Oh, what is it? The St. Martin's Press. If any of these are part of St. Martin's Press, or any of these authors have been anti-Palestine in any way, let me know, and I will never talk about them online again. I did look into it, and I couldn't find if any of these were. So if they are, let me know. But these are all the books that I have on my shelf that I've read, that I've given a 4, 4.5, or a 5, that I, to my knowledge, are not problematic, because I have some problematic authors that I have on my bookshelf lower down so they can't be seen in things, and I also got secondhand that I never gave the author money for. Cool. These are rapid fire. And in no particular order, these are just the order that I picked them up off of my shelf. First one, They Both Die at the End. Wow, for a book that is called They Both Die at the End, you really don't see the ending coming. You really think the whole time that they're really not going to die at the end. Whoo! Anyways, I actually can't think about that book without crying. It's fine. I'm okay. I'm not even a huge romance reader, like, at all. I think that's one of the only, like, true romances on my shelf. Yeah, I don't read a lot of romance. So, Interview with the Vampire and The Vampire Lestat. I don't like Interview with the Vampire as much as I like The Interview with Lestat, but I say that very confidently for somebody who has not reread the Vampire Lestat in probably like 15 years. I got through most of Interview with the Vampire, and then we started moving and I put it down, and then I never went back to it. So these I do have to reread again, but I do remember really liking these. Also, I guess this is a hot take. Didn't know it was a hot take. I like the movie more than I like the show. I guess a lot of people like the show. I don't like it. I don't think they should have aged up Claudia. I think that was really weird. Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. I was told that if I liked this one, I would not like the Pallbearers Club. I gave the Pallbearers Club... No, if I liked this one, I wouldn't like the Pallbearers Club. And if I liked the Pallbearers Club, I wouldn't like this one. They were only a half a point off. Pallbearers Club was 5. This was 4.5. I read this one first. I really liked this. It was the first book that I, like, actively tabbed. And I thought that was kind of fun. I thought that was kind of cool. I liked this book. I get that Paul Tremblay is not for everybody, but oh my god, is he for me. In the Dream House. Oh, I didn't read who this was by. Carmen Maria Machado. This is called In the Dream House. It's a short, like, I don't even want to say it's an anthology, but there's like short little like vignettes, I think is what this would be called, poems. It's a horror book it's a memoir, it's nonfiction, and it's about being in an abusive queer relationship, and I think it's stunning. I read this in a day. I just sat there and like devoured this. I thought it was really good. Unwind, Neil Shusterman, same guy that wrote Scythe. Wow. If you don't think you like YA, if you don't think you like dystopian, try this. It's older. He wrote this before he wrote Scythe. This, for a YA, got way more morbid than I thought it would, and got a lot darker than I thought it would. Some of the characters are kind of like okay, but the story itself and the way that he told the story and like wove all this together, no pun intended. Wow. Also read that very fast. Mostly bought this book because I saw a booktuber, Alex, ? I think that's who I'm remembering, talk about this. And she said that she was going to read it, and I was convinced because the cover was really cute. Now, did I enjoy this book? Yes. I had a great time with it. I thought it was fun, no pun intended. I thought it was campy because it takes place at a summer camp. Not entirely 100% for me the whole time, but I had a lot of fun. What the hell is all of this? It was fun. I had a good time. Not entirely for me, but enough to put it. I gave it 4 stars. Thought it was fun. It was the perfect length. I think if it went on a little bit longer, it wouldn't have respected my time as much. The ending, though, was really cool. I think the ending saved it. The ending was something that I had never seen done before in like a YA horror. So that's what gave it for me. And also the cover is beautiful. Let's just take another second to appreciate how fucking stunning this cover is. Haunting a Hill House. I am just a mere mortal in the world of Mike Flanagan. The Flaniverse is something that I am a very happy, eager consumer of. So Haunting a Hill House is like my favorite TV show of all time. And so I knew that the source material wasn't going to be identical, but it was probably going to be good. And listen, this is an unpopular opinion. I love deckled edges. I love it. I love that the cover opens up into like this. I love this. I think this is great. I think this is cool. I think that for the time, this would have been horrifying. And horror reflects what we're afraid of in our generation. Not in this generation. This was written in like the 20s, I think. Like the other 20s. Oh, the 50s. Well, I lied. This was written in the 50s. The things that scared them in the 50s don't scare us now in 2024. But it was atmospheric. The characters were so rich, and like I could feel and taste and smell everything that happened in this book along with the main characters. And therefore, I think it was beautiful. I think it was great. I don't think it was scary, but I think it was creepy. And I think it was atmospheric. And I think it was rich. This was a very good read. Cemetery Boys. I lost my paper cover. I lost my dust sleeve. Are both of those cracked? Anyways, so I lost that. And I thought this book was great. I thought it was cute. I thought it was a little cheesy. It was a little young. But cheesy and young does not automatically equal bad. You good, homie? So cheesy does not equal bad. I feel like if younger teenage me were to have found this book and read it before I was out as non-binary, I think it would have changed my life. Now, reading it as a 30-year-old, very out non-binary person, I think it felt nostalgic more than groundbreaking. And that's okay. Books can do that. And then the last one that I had on my shelf was Tell Me That I'm Worthless by Alison Rumfitt. Now, I understand that less than the other books that I've said this about, this... Oh my god, wait, this says that Albion is the scariest haunted house since Hill House. I want to make them kiss. And they were girlfriends. I wrote a horror novel. I wrote a haunted house book. I'm still editing it. And so I was told to read as much haunted house books as I could this year. And so, as you can tell, that's why a lot of these are like haunted housey books. I'm going to hold that up better. I didn't really hold that up that long. So like, oh, these are all going different directions. But you get what I'm saying. I just talked about all of these books. And Tell Me I'm Worthless was so, and I mean this this is a positive. I mean this nicely. I think this is the weirdest book I've ever read. It stuck with me. I don't read trigger warnings. I think trigger warnings are spoilers for myself because I don't have a lot of triggers when it comes to reading things. Read the trigger warnings. Also, go into this knowing that you are not at any point fully going to understand what is happening. And I think that's okay. The best way to explain this book is the last sentence of the little blurby doo-doo on the back. It says, cutting, disruptive, and darkly funny, Tell Me I'm Worthless is a vital work of trans fiction that examines the devastating effects of trauma and how fascism makes us destroy ourselves and each other. Yeah. That's this. I can't, and like, you can't really say anything about this book without spoiling things. But if you are trans, read the trigger warnings. So I think that's it. This went on way longer than I thought it was going to. But I think talking in front of the camera is going to become something I'm more natural at, and I'm going to be, you know, it's going to be easier to do as time goes on. Again, it's been 6 years since I've uploaded videos. I was in my early 20s. Early 20s when I made my last video. I was also going through the worst breakup of my life. I literally, that's so funny. I went through a breakup, uploaded a video, kind of briefly talked about the breakup, and then never came back. So, if you guys would like, you know, if you're new here, if you found this video, I will be making more videos about books. I will, if any of the things that I talked about. Oh, I mentioned before that these are, I'm going to put some pictures up on the screen of other books that I have given, other books that I have given 5 stars to, or 4.5, 5-star ratings to. I also use StoryGraphs. My link to my StoryGraphs will be down there. You can see all of the books that I've read and all of the books that I'm currently reading. Mind your business. It's always more than one. I have an Instagram, I have a personal Instagram, and I have a book Instagram. Both of those will be down there. I have a TikTok, but like I don't really use it. I'm a scroller. I'm not so much a poster, but I'll put my TikTok down there too. Thank you guys for watching. If you just found this video, I really appreciate you sticking around. And if you saw me on your subscription feed and you're like, hello? Hi, it's good to see you again. Thanks for sticking around, even if you're not into books. But yeah, it's been fun. I'm glad I did this. I will be doing more videos about books. If you guys have any questions, I think I want to start with like a Q&A. So if you guys want, or like not a Q&A, but like I want to start with like if you guys have any questions about the books that I've read, or if you guys need like book recommendations, or if you need whatever, leave me some questions on this video. We'll have a little chit chat to come back in, and then I might start doing like reading vlogs. Maybe, I don't know. Do you guys want reading vlogs? Do you want more sit-downy videos? What do you want from me? What do you want from me, huh? What can I give you? But no, just let me know. I had an outro from the time that I made this channel. So I really do think that I need to keep this outro. So especially if you've either read Scythe or you want to read Scythe now because I've talked to you about it, then I love you the most.